My boyfriend, Finn, seemed to be suffering from a peculiar kind of amnesia. He forgot my birthday. He forgot our anniversary. He even forgot about my severe asthma, bringing his best friend home along with her cat. The most absurd part? He had also apparently forgotten that his best friend, Zoe, was a woman. The night my airways seized up from the cat dander, I found him and Zoe asleep in the same bed. So the moment I was discharged from the hospital gasping for air and life, I chose to develop a selective amnesia of my own. I forgot I had a boyfriend. And then I said yes to my suitor's proposal. His name was Leo and he moved with breathtaking speed. Moments after I accepted, he created a group chat with my parents and me, flooding it with a dozen photos of wedding venues and bridal gown styles. It was clear he had been planning this for a very long time. In the chat, my parents buzzed with excitement, their messages painting a picture of pure, unadulterated joy. Suddenly, a private message from my mother popped up. Nora, my dear, since you've decided to marry Leo, it's time to let go of the past. You and Finn were never meant to be. My eyes lingered on Finn's name, a familiar ache tightening in my chest. I once believed he was my destiny, the hero who would save me from the world. In the end, he was the one who nearly cost me my life. After a long pause, I typed back a single word. Okay. After a final consultation with my doctor, I took a cab back to the apartment I had shared with Finn. I had barely opened the door when I saw him, his brow furrowed, his face a thundercloud. Nora, where have you been? You can't just run off every time you're angry. Your phone was off. Do you have any idea how worried I was? His concern felt like a foreign language. I ignored it, offering only a flat. My phone died. This, however, seemed to agitate Zoe, who was standing beside him, her arm draped casually over his shoulder. Come on, Nora, she said with a chummy grin. You can't be jealous of us. We've been bros for over a decade. Don't be so petty. She then nudged Finn's chest with her elbow. Women are so much trouble, right, Finn? Not like me. I get it. Finn, already annoyed with me, shot me a look laced with impatience. His voice lost its gentle edge. Nora, you're embarrassing me. He strode past me without a second glance, choosing her over me, just as he had done countless times before. Just then my phone rang. I answered instinctively. It was Leo. Did you decide on a date? 6 days from now? Let me know if you need anything at all. I'll handle it. Finn, who hadn't gone far, spun around, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. Wedding? Who's getting married? For some reason I didn't want him to know. Not yet. I ended the call in a panic, my voice trembling. Nothing. You misheard. He must have sensed my unease because he reached for my phone. But Zoe intercepted him. Finn, she's obviously still mad. Give her some space, she said, pulling him toward the door. Come on, let's grab dinner. Our usual spot. Just let her cool off. Finn stepped toward me, faltered. He gave me one last, long look, then said nothing, allowing Zoe to lead him away until they disappeared from sight. I stood there, my gaze unfocused. It was strange. Letting go of someone I had loved for so long felt surprisingly hollow. Nothing more, nothing less. Zoe's cat, a fluffy creature named Candy, rubbed against my leg, pulling me back to the present. I actually adored animals, but my body betrayed me. I was allergic to pet dander. A single touch enough to trigger an attack like the one that had nearly killed me. I gave Candy a gentle nudge with my foot, and it scurried away into a bedroom. I almost smiled. Thinking of last night, I went downstairs and bought a basket of fruit and a small gift. I knocked on my neighbor's door. Mrs. Gable, thank you so much for yesterday, I said. If you hadn't found me and driven me to the hospital, I don't think I would have made it. She was a kind, warm woman who had always looked out for me. She waved my thanks away, insisting it was nothing. She had often been a comforting presence, a witness to my many arguments with Finn. Last night had been another one, sparked by Zoe. I couldn't understand why he constantly broke our plans for her. He'd skip our anniversary dinner to take her to a clinic for a cold, or miss my birthday to watch her play in a basketball game. He even let her move into our apartment without asking me. I often felt like they were the couple and I was just the convenient placeholder. When I had suggested again that Zoe find her own place, she had simply smirked and said, Finn, your girlfriend has such a small worldview. Unsurprisingly, we ended up sleeping in separate rooms. But Zoe's cat must have slipped into mine. I woke up in the middle of the night choking, crushing weight on my chest. I stumbled to the guest room, desperate for Finn's help, only to see him and Zoe sleeping soundly, in the same bed. It wasn't the first time. His explanation was always the same. We're just best friends, Nora. It's normal. Nothing happened. Haven't you ever shared a bed with your best friend? In the end, I had to save myself. I was lucky Mrs. Gable was coming home from her late shift at the hospital. I told her my news that I was getting married soon, and invited her to the wedding. Her face lit up. Oh, that's wonderful. Congratulations to you and Finn. It's been 6 years, hasn't it? It's about time. My smile dimmed. I shook my head gently. It's not him. Not him. Her eyes widened in surprise and she fumbled for words. I tried to sound cheerful, patting her hand. But you absolutely have to come. She saw through my facade. Nora, are you sure about this? She asked softly, her hand gripping mine. I had heard that question so many times in the last few days. They were all afraid I was making a mistake I would regret for the rest of my life. I shrugged, my voice even. I'm sure. Crystal clear, in fact. The last few years with Finn, we haven't been happy. And honestly, at this point, I'm not even sure what we are to each other anymore. I paused. I suppose I was never as important as the person standing next to him. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm done waiting. Mrs. Gable knew all about Zoe. She had seen me get pushed aside too many times to count. She simply sighed and didn't press further. That evening I returned to find Finn and Zoe in the living room, arranging a bouquet of enormous, vibrant roses. Zoe beamed and presented them to me. Nora, Finn bought these especially for you. Stop being angry, okay? It's not a big deal. I frowned and shoved her away hard. The bouquet tumbled to the floor, the perfect roses shattering like broken glass. Finn lunged, catching Zoe before she could fall. His face was stern, his eyes cold. Nora, what is wrong with you? Zoe was trying to help us make up. Why are you acting like this? Is it really necessary? There he was again, defending her. I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. Make up? The reason we can barely stand the sight of each other is standing right next to you. I don't hate you, he retorted automatically. But I wasn't listening. I stepped on the ruined flowers and turned to go to my room. Finn, your flowers, Zoe cried out. What a waste. We went to so many shops to find these giant roses. I stopped and looked back at her. Then at Finn, a flicker of chalfung in my eyes. You forgot again, didn't you, Finn? I have asthma. I can't be around flowers. I slammed the door behind me, as if I could shut the entire past away with that one act. The next morning I woke up early. The countdown on my phone showed 5.5 days left. I started packing. I couldn't vary. Well, stay here if I was getting married. As I carried box after box of things I no longer needed to the hallway, Zoe spotted me. Hey Nora, she called out lazily. While you're at it, could you clean my room too? Thanks. I froze, my head bowed. Looking back, I felt like such a fool. Since Zoe moved in, I had become their maid, my life revolving around their needs. My mother was right. You can only carry a burden alone for so long before you break. I was only just realizing it. Finn walked over and took a box from my hands. I'll do it. You should rest. It was a surprising change of pace. But I just stared at him coldly, rejecting his self-serving kindness, and continued my work. Finn, don't bother her, Zoe called out. You're so clumsy you'll just make a bigger mess. She can handle it. He actually took a step back, giving me space. Just like when we first moved in together. Except that time I had been smiling. 6 years of my life, packed into 10 large cardboard boxes. I stared at the towering stack by the door, feeling a wave of dizziness. My eyes landed on a small wooden box on top. As I reached for it, Finn snatched it away. He opened it. Inside were 6 pairs of silver rings. Each one a gift from him, one for every year we were together. When we first started dating, he promised that when we collected 7, he would marry me and give me a real diamond ring. I remember laughing and teasing him. Have you been watching too much Dragon Ball? Trying to summon a dragon? He had just held me, laughing foolishly, his eyes full of nothing but me. I want every year we have together to be a surprise, he had said. What a shame. We were just 1 pair short. Finn held up the box, his voice laced with indignation. Why would you throw this away? This is important. I hammered each of these myself. Don't you value them? I looked at him, a sneer playing on my lips. Who exactly is the one who doesn't value things? He was silenced by my words, likely remembering the previous day's events. His tone softened. Nora, I'm sorry about yesterday. It was my fault. Then his voice shifted again. But you need to apologize to Zoe. You almost pushed her over. It's a good thing I was there. He rubbed his forehead, looking weary. We're just friends, Nora. I've known her for 15 years. I've never seen her as a woman. If anything was going to happen between us, it would have happened long before you came along. He seemed to realize how cruel that sounded and reached for me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I flinched away, my smile more painful than tears. Don't touch me. Please. The man who once cherished me above all else was gone. I took a large step back, putting a universe of distance between us. Zoe, oblivious, stepped between us to rummage through the boxes. Wow, you're throwing out so much stuff. Some of this looks brand new. Suddenly she stumbled, knocking a large box over. Its contents spilled across the floor. Watch out. Finn's first instinct was to shield Zoe with his body. He fussed over her, checking for injuries, the two of them bickering playfully as if I weren't even there. It was only when he saw a small scratch on her ankle that he scooped her into his arms, ready to rush downstairs. After a moment he seemed to remember I was also next to the pile. He glanced over his shoulder. Nora, are you hurt? Let me see. I shook my head. He let out a sigh of relief and turned his attention back to the woman in his arms. I'm taking Zoe to the hospital. Don't touch any of this. I'll clean it up when I get back. Before I could answer, he was gone, leaving me with nothing but the sight of his retreating back. Something warm trickled down my forehead, blurring my vision. For a moment I couldn't tell if it was blood or tears. It didn't matter. From now on I wouldn't have to wait for him to turn around anymore. I cleaned the cut on my forehead myself and continued clearing the mess. It took more than a dozen trips, but I finally threw everything away. On the last trip, I held the wooden box of rings in my hand, and without a shred of sentiment, I tossed it deep into the dumpster. The apartment was nearly empty. I packed my remaining clothes and essentials. I had planned to wait for Finn to tell him where I had put his things. It was the least I could do, but he never came back that night. He finally returned the next afternoon. Seeing the barren apartment, he looked down, unable to meet my eyes. Zoe was worried about the cut getting infected, so we stayed at the hospital overnight, he explained. I just came back to get her some food. Do you want to come see her? Seeing his cautious expression, I agreed. We went to the hospital. He rushed into her room with the food. As I reached for the door, I overheard a nurse teasing Zoe. Wow, your boyfriend takes such good care of you. Stayed with you all night and now brings you this feast. I'm so jealous. Zoe blushed. You've got it wrong, we're just friends. I didn't believe her, and neither did the nurse. I pushed the door open and stood there silently. Zoe looked up, and the shy look on her face instantly morphed into embarrassment. She nudged Finn, who was busy unpacking the food. Finn, you didn't tell me she was coming. Ignoring her discomfort, I sat by the bed and examined her wound. It was a thin reddish-black line already healing. If she'd waited any longer to treat it, it might have vanished on its own. Zoe saw the sarcasm in my eyes and turned away. The metal that cut her was rusty, that's why we were so worried, Finn explained. Nora, please don't misunderstand. I held up a hand, cutting him off. I have nothing more to say except. I paused. I wish you both happiness. With that I walked out. The nurse was coming in to give Zoe an injection and stopped Finn from following me. Sir, I need you to hold your girlfriend's arm still. She's not my girlfriend, he yelled. Nora, what did you mean by that? He was frantic, desperate to follow me, but the nurse's insistent calls kept him there. By the time he got out, I was long gone. I returned to the apartment we had shared for 6 years one last time. I stood at the door with a small suitcase and memories flooded my vision. Finn and I painting the worn-out walls, getting covered in paint. Finn and I making disastrous meals and feeding them to each other spoonful by spoonful. Finn and I planning our future, imagining what we would be like at 80. I had laughed and cried and hurt. In this apartment, I thought my heart was numb, but standing on the precipice of leaving for good, it ached with a dull, persistent pain. A soft nudge at my feet brought me back. It was Candy. The cat seemed to know I was leaving, letting out a series of soft, plaintive mews and exposing her soft belly. This time I didn't pull away. I held my breath and slowly knelt, stroking her soft fur. She closed her eyes in bliss, her purr a low rumble. It must be nice to be a cat, I thought. No worries, no heartbreaks, no concept of disappointment. I shooed Candy back inside and hung my key on the branch of the osmanthus tree at the entrance to our building. It was our secret spot for whenever one of us forgot our key. Though it was always me who forgot. He never did. I pulled out my phone to call a cab. But I didn't need to. Leo was waiting for me at the gate. He smiled, his eyes full of starlight. He took my suitcase and led me to his car. How did you know? I asked. He chuckled, gently tucking a loose strand of my hair behind my ear. Your mom told me you were moving out today. I was worried you'd be alone, so I came to get you. He smiled again. Let's go home. Those 2 words made my eyes burn. Maybe, just maybe, I could be happy with him. During the drive, Leo was attentive, filling the silence with funny stories and interesting observations, gently steering my mind away from the sadness of my departure. By the time we arrived at my parents' house, the grief had faded. They were waiting for me, and I ran into my mother's arms. You're back, she said, her voice thick with emotion. You've gotten so thin. Come, let's eat. My dad cleared his throat, ushering Leo and me to the table. Nora, Leo. Sit. We can talk while we eat. It was obvious my parents adored Leo. He was gentle, thoughtful, and carried himself with an easy grace. He was the polar opposite of Finn. I wondered why someone so exceptional would propose to me after only one meeting. My phone sitting on the table began to ring. I glanced at the screen and declined the call. It rang again and again, and I rejected it each time. The incessant buzzing drew everyone's attention. They knew who it was. My mother started to say something, but Leo's calm voice cut through the tension. Answer it. I'll wait. His words were a soothing balm on my frayed nerves. I took the phone and stepped away. Nora? Why aren't you home? The apartment is empty. Your clothes, did you take them to be cleaned? Where are you? His barrage of questions was just noise. My voice was barely a whisper. I'm at my parents' house. Family matter. When are you coming back? He asked, his voice trembling as if he were afraid of the answer. I was silent for a long moment. We'll see. His tone shifted, becoming pleading, just like it used to be when he was trying to win me over. I bought your favorite durian milk crepe cake. I'll wait for you to come home and eat it. I mumbled an agreement and hung up. The truth was I despised durian. The person who loved it was him. And Zoe. Back at the table, Leo didn't ask any questions. He just quietly placed my favorite dishes on my plate. I was surprised he knew what they were, but I assumed my parents had told him. Later that evening, while we were on a walk, he asked, Do you remember the chubby little kid who used to live next door to you? Suddenly, a memory surfaced of a shy, round-faced boy. He was always being picked on, and I, with my tiny fists, would always step in to defend him. He became my little shadow. But then my family moved and I never saw him again. My eyes widened. Don't tell me you're... A brilliant smile lit up Leo's face, his eyes crinkling with warmth. Yes, it's me. We spent the rest of the evening reminiscing about our childhood. He told me his parents had divorced, and he had taken his mother's name. He'd lost 100 pounds, learned martial arts, and become the successful, confident man standing before me. I felt a strange emotion stir within me. You must have worked so hard all these years, I said. He shook his head, a wry smile on his face. When I thought about a certain someone, nothing felt hard at all. I understood his implication, and a blush crept up my neck. I quickly changed the subject, and he played along, matching my pace as we walked. He took me home as the night grew late. As I was about to step inside, he spoke again. Nora, you know I've always respected your decisions. I just want you to be happy, he said. But I also want you to know that someone has been waiting for you for a very, very long time. Even longer than Finn. He stood there, the starlight reflected in his eyes, and in their light I saw myself. My heart skipped a beat. For the first time I realized I had been someone's unwavering choice all along. I scurried inside like a child caught doing something wrong, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs until I finally fell asleep. I dreamt of Finn. In the dream he pushed my hand away and ran toward someone else. I woke up with tears on my cheeks. Outside the sun was shining brightly. It was the day to try on wedding dresses. My mother and Leo took me to the city's grandest bridal boutique. My gaze was immediately drawn to a satin gown in the window, embroidered with delicate lilies of the valley. I vaguely remembered Finn years ago, giving me the first pair of silver rings and promising that one day, he would see me walk down the aisle in a lily of the valley gown, a symbol of happiness returned. I tore my eyes away, refusing to dwell on the past. But Leo had noticed. He quietly asked the manager to take the gown from the window display. I started to refuse but then stopped myself. Fine, I'll just try it on. While Leo was with the manager, I saw them, Finn and Zoe, across the store looking at formal wear. Zoe was leaning on Finn's shoulder discussing something. I turned to leave to escape. But a familiar voice called out, "Nora? Is that you?" Finn ran over, his face alight with joy. "Nora, where have you been? I've been calling you. Zoe and I were so worried." Zoe followed at a slower pace. "It's true," she added. "Finn hasn't been sleeping well. I had to stay with him to make sure he was okay." I saw a flicker of jealousy and triumph in her eyes. It was amazing how clear things became when you were no longer in the thick of them. I gave a non-committal reply and tried to leave, but Zoe stopped me. "What are you doing here all by yourself?" "I'm not alone," I said, sidestepping the question. They saw my mother then and greeted her politely. I gave my mom a look, and she understood, moving away without another word. "What are you two doing here?" I asked casually. Zoe's eyes sparkled. "My brother is getting married, so Finn is helping me pick out a dress for the wedding. He has great taste." I glanced at the dress a sales associate was holding. She was right. It was a beautiful gown that would accentuate all of her best features. "He does have good taste," I said simply. "It suits you. And he suits you," I thought. Finn stared at me, his eyes suddenly turning red at the edges. "Nora, you've changed. You never used to compliment Zoe." I smiled at him, the picture of composure. I was just telling the truth. Suddenly, Zoe spotted another dress, a stunning blue one. "Finn, look at that one," she exclaimed, pulling him away. I took the opportunity to walk in the opposite direction. But he broke free from her grasp and came after me. "Nora, when are you coming back? Let me shop with you." My eyes fell on the hand gripping my arm, and my voice turned to ice. "Let go." "No. What is wrong with you? Why are you treating me like this?" His stubbornness reminded me of my dream, and a wave of suffocation washed over me. I wrenched my arm free. "Finn, I thought I made myself clear. We're over. Don't make me lose all respect for you." He thought I was just throwing a tantrum. His lips thinned into a hard line. "Nora, can you stop being so childish?" Childish. So that's what he'd always thought of me. I was tired of it all, tired of him, tired of the very air around him. I walked away, deeper into the store. "I'm sorry, sir," a staff member said, blocking his path. "This is a VIP area, by appointment only." Finn tried to push past him. "Nora, you can't just walk away from me every time." But he was no match for the store's security guards, who escorted both him and Zoe out. Leo saw the state I was in. "Nora, what's wrong?" he asked, his voice low and gentle. A staff member whispered something in his ear, and his eyes darkened. He dismissed the staff and came to my side. After a long moment he said, "If you're not in the mood today, we don't have to do this. It's okay." His voice was calm, filled with nothing but understanding. I looked at the lily of the valley gown in the sales associate's hands and made my decision. "Let's go home." Leo's smile never wavered, but I saw the flicker of disappointment in his eyes. I reached out and took his hand. "Let's go home," I repeated, a small smile playing on my lips. He looked at me, stunned, and followed me out of the store, his steps light, his breathing shallow. The tightening grip of his hand in mine told me everything I needed to know about his happiness. The next few days were a blur of wedding preparations. Finn's calls were relentless, so I finally changed my phone and my number. He tracked me down to my parents' house, so we moved. Leo, ever thoughtful, had already prepared a sprawling 300-square-meter apartment for my parents in his own building. "Now you can visit them whenever you want," he said. Under Leo's care, I finally felt free of Finn, my life filled with a new sense of hope. The day of the wedding arrived. I stood in a stunning fishtail gown, my arm linked with my father's, waiting for the grand doors to open. Under the spotlight, I walked down the long aisle. The entire venue was decorated in my favorite shade of pale blue, like a deep and endless sea. At the end of the aisle stood Leo, dressed in a sharp black suit. He was smiling, his entire being seeming to light up when he saw me. As I walked toward him, a feeling of pure, unburdened relief washed over me. Suddenly there was a crash of glass from the side. I turned and saw Finn. His eyes red and filled with disbelief. I never imagined our next meeting would be at my wedding. Beside him, Zoe, dressed to the nines, was equally stunned. "What is happening?" she stammered. "Why is Nora my brother's bride?" Finn looked like he had lost his mind. He rushed onto the stage and grabbed my wrist, his eyes blazing with fury. "Nora, do you have any idea what you're doing?" I was silent for 3 seconds and then I laughed. "I know exactly what I'm doing. And you have no right to question me." Leo was by my side in an instant, a sharp elbow strike forcing Finn to release me. "I suggest," he said, his voice dangerously low, "that you show some respect to my wife, or I won't be so gentle." Finn sneered. "Wife? She's mine. What does she have to do with you?" The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. The guests began to whisper. "What is this? A real-life wedding crashing? I've only ever seen this in movies. I should livestream this." Leo, aware of the commotion, lowered his voice. "Finn, don't embarrass Nora." But Finn was beyond reason. He threw a punch at Leo. "Who the hell do you think you are?" he roared, attacking like a cornered lion. I tried desperately to pull them apart, but I was too weak. In the scuffle, Finn shoved me and I lost my balance, tumbling off the stage. My head hit the floor and my vision swam. "Nora!" Seeing me fall, Leo's temper finally snapped. He knocked Finn to the ground and landed several hard punches. With his martial arts training, he could have ended it in seconds, but he had been holding back for my sake. He scrambled to my side, frantically checking me for injuries. "I'm okay," I said, patting his hand. "Don't worry." Finn, seeing me on the floor, looked horrified. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean to. My mother couldn't take it anymore." "Can't you just let her be happy?" she screamed at him. "Why did you have to ruin her wedding? Were the 6 years of her life you wasted not enough for you?" My father quickly led her away. Finn closed his eyes, his voice a hoarse whisper. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." He repeated it over and over, lost in his own world. I sighed and signaled for the officiant to continue. "No," Finn yelled. He grabbed my hand again and started running, dragging me out of the hall. I couldn't break free. I kicked off my heels, my bare feet cold against the marble floor. "Finn, stop." I said stop. He just kept running, his grip tightening on my wrist. I could hear him muttering, can't stop, if I stop you'll marry him, can't stop." Thankfully, Leo had taught me a few moves. I slammed my free hand into his elbow. He grunted in pain but didn't let go. I twisted my wrist, the sharp pain a mirror of the night I had carved him out of my heart. It hurt, but I didn't stop. The 6 years we spent together flashed through my mind. There were happy moments, but they were fleeting, fragile things unable to withstand suspicion, jealousy, and the presence of a third person. My passion for him had been extinguished, one small betrayal at a time. I used to wonder if we would have had a happy ending without Zoe. I replayed it in my mind 100 times, and the answer was always no. A relationship destined to fail will fail, with or without a third party. The one who is loved more is careless. The one who loves more is the first to cry. Finally, I wrenched my hand free. We stood alone in the vast, empty hotel lobby. I looked at his bloodshot eyes and spoke calmly. "Finn, we're over. We need to live our own lives now. Let's have some dignity, shall we?" He flinched but shook his head stubbornly. "No. I was wrong. Whatever happened, it was all my fault, okay? Just give me one more chance. Please." His plea was sincere, but it didn't move me. He still didn't understand what he had done wrong. I reached out and gently wiped away a tear that was about to fall from his eye, my touch as gentle as it had always been. His eyes lit up with hope, and he started to raise his hand to my face. But I pulled away, shattering his illusion. "It's over, Finn. Take care of yourself." My voice was soft but final. "And welcome to my wedding." Leo was standing behind me. I turned and ran to him, my body feeling as light as air. I had someone who chose me, and I would not betray his heart. Finn reached for me one last time, but Leo kicked his hand away. "Don't touch her," he said, his voice laced with contempt. "You're not clean." Then he wrapped his arms around me, a wide grin spreading across his face. "Nora, I'm very clean. There has never been any other woman in my life. Except for my mother. I had never seen him so purely happy. It warmed my heart. He gently rubbed my bruised wrist, looking like he wanted to go back and kick Finn a few more times. I laughed and playfully punched his arm, and he relented. Zoe appeared, looking hesitant. Brother. Call her sister-in-law, Leo corrected. She mumbled the words, and for the first time they sounded sweet to my ears. I hadn't known Zoe was Leo's sister, but she was adopted, so it didn't really matter. I didn't look back again. I took Leo's hand and walked back into the ballroom toward our future. Under the watchful eyes of our friends and family, Leo and I exchanged our vows and completed the ceremony. In the dressing room, the alarm on my old phone went off, a final notification from a life that was now over. Later, I heard that Finn and Zoe had a massive falling out and never spoke again. I heard that Finn could often be seen sitting under an osmanthus tree, holding a small wooden box. Someone said they saw what was inside. A diamond ring. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore.